welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. I am your host, Sam Randazzo. I am joined by my two slightly grumpy co-hosts. To my right, it is the one, the only. It is Uncle Sam.
Hello.
And to my left, it is none other than our very own Mr. Zolo, Mike Palazzolo.
Uncle Sam, I don't think you look grumpy.
Are you slightly grumpy today?
No.
You're not grumpy?
No.
Is that a new hat?
No.
He's worn that.
I feel like that's a new hat. It looks really clean. Has that hat not made it to work yet?
Yeah, I wore it today.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh. Behind the computer, higher than a kite on a summer day,
Higher than a parasailer.
higher than a pelican just flying away at full tilt, and absolutely just, as he waves his wings, just dribbles goo on everyone below. It is Bruce, the tugboat. Venditti.
Hello.
Sorry if you guys have heard buzzing for the last 4 episodes.
Okay, I'm muting my mic now.
Bruce had a malfunction with his mic, so it's just been buzzing nonstop for the last week.
News to me.
I was hearing it when I was watching on Monday when I wasn't here, and I just heard bzzz through the entire thing, and
I
then
do that every day.
in the last TikTok, I just bzzz. So. Leon, President Baker in the chat wants a Bruce's dating scene update. Bruce, did you ever reach out to your lover on TikTok? Why? We did that for you.
Oh, we're not done. We're going to do a lot more to people.
We're gonna
don't
give
know.
away Bruce.
We're giving away Bruce.
We're gonna give away Bruce.
We're going to give away a Bruce if you like and subscribe.
So I missed a couple. How was Friday and Monday? Without me. Did you enjoy it? Was it
We
better
missed
without
you.
me here? Oh, Jacqueline's in the TikTok chat. No, he did not. That Bruce, she's back for you. She's back.
Jacqueline, we're not going to refund you because we're going to deliver the goods.
We're going to deliver for you, honey. Don't worry.
DM us your number and we will give it to Bruce. Promise that won't be public.
Uncle Sam, how's your week been?
Great.
High points, low points, pits, peaks.
High points.
Besides Bruce being a high point.
Bruce. Bruce is the high point.
Wait, hold on. Is he the high point, like,
He's the high
metaphorically?
point 'cause he's high.
Metaphorically? Or is he the high point because he's high?
Bruce is the high point because he's high.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
The low point is I'm here.
Zolo, how's your week going so far?
Miserable at work. It's a long story that I'm not gonna explain, but I had a good pickle
Dude,
indoor
you
last night.
you gotta do something with that, dude.
I know. I am. I'm
Stop
working
being a
on it.
pussy. Go in there with a pistol and tell everybody to lay down on the floor.
Go school shooter.
That's what
on
I
them.
would do.
Shit, we're gonna
Make everybody lay down on the floor, rob them, and leave.
Steven, the Bills ticket giveaway is Friday. The Bills ticket
Who?
giveaway is Friday.
But
Steven
until
in the
then,
chat.
if you have any fantasy football questions like Coop,
we
who
have
is in
one.
the house,
Yes, Coop in the house.
please ask us, Steven. And Coop, Rico Dowdle or Juwan Jennings? I don't know. Who do the Niners have this week?
This one's easy for me without even seeing who anybody plays. Rico Dowdle's been hot as shit.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Rico
it.
Dowdle against the Panthers, or Juwan Jennings against the Rams. Give me Rico Dowdle.
Yeah,
against
Rico
the
Dowdle.
Panthers.
Rico Dowdle.
Rico Dowdle has had a great couple of games in a row. I would ride that
They're still drafting Ashton Genty, though.
if he makes it to him.
He will.
They might be a little too good for that.
No, because there's not a premium on running backs, so I think it'll work out for them.
Fantasy football update. I made the playoffs by the grace of God. Unfortunately, Bruce and Uncle Sam didn't make the cut.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I made a few trades I shouldn't have done.
What trade are you going to
David
blame me?
Montgomery.
What?
I should have never traded David Montgomery.
Oh, no, you traded David Montgomery?
Yep.
Guy's automatic.
It was for Baker Mayfield and Kareem Hunt when Baker was
Yeah, I should
QB.
never-
Well, Baker's very good.
Baker,
He's been all right.
you would have been rolling the table with Aaron Rodgers.
I got Matt Stafford.
Who's coming along. Belichick to North Carolina is official, by the way.
We should discuss that. I wanted to hear from you how you felt about that. Supposedly, he already has his list of demands for the university submitted, a whole manifesto. about how he's going to turn this into a
200-page
program. Yeah,
It's not a manifesto. It's
It's just a
the
guide.
guide to winning.
It's just a guide, and
The
and
guide
it's,
to winning.
and it's from two standpoints too, which I love. He's very prepared. It's from a this is how we're gonna do things standpoint, and then this is how we're gonna do things from a football operations standpoint. He's running it like a professional program. I think it could work.
That's what college is now anyway.
We talked about this the other day. The way things are set up, like now with this stupid 12-team playoff, and then with NIL, you can turn a program around overnight. You can do that. So I think it could be a good little gig. Now, him recruiting is interesting, right? Him as a recruiter is very interesting to think about. But he's asked for money for his
think
assistant
name,
pool.
I think his name recruits for him.
Yeah, it's
I
helpful
don't
for
think
sure.
he really needs to fucking do much.
It's helpful for sure. And then on top of that, Washington went to the national championship last year. Steven Belichick took over as Washington's D coordinator this year, and their defense went from like 60th last year to 28th this year, to one of the top 30 defenses in college football. So Steven's coming with them, and in the agreement, Steven is the coach in waiting for North Carolina. So he guaranteed his son a job. It could work until it doesn't, right? Like I think it's a good deal for North Carolina. I think it's a good deal for Belichick, and good for him. I'm curious to see where it goes.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Do you think it'll be effective if he brings his style of coaching to? Because we've seen the Belichickian style of coaching not work in places other than New England. Do you think it works not only in college but at a program like North Carolina?
I don't know.
Yeah, of course.
I see
You
it
just
working,
need money.
period. I mean, it's fucking Bill Belichick.
Yeah, you need money. Like Uncle Sam said, his name is going to do a lot of recruiting. My guess is they're gonna
Listen,
give him-
you play for Belichick, you're almost guaranteed that if your team does well, that you're getting drafted, period.
My guess is
Period.
they're going to give him a lot of money to play around with, which is part of the deal. And this school has money. Michael Jordan could fund this whole football program if he wanted to. And in case you missed it the other day when we talked about it, his dad coached there for 2 years in the 50s. So it's not like
Belichick's dad?
yeah, so it's not like a weird thing. It's not like, why there? It makes sense.
Coop in the house in the chat. Is Brees gonna play? No.
I heard he's not.
They said today, they haven't given an official designation yet. But Coach Albrecht came out today and said that he's struggling,
but they're
with
not
the knee.
shutting him down. They're not shutting him down. So
Are you now? I was actually thinking about this yesterday. If you're one of those teams that's out, and you have a guy like, because the Jets are out, right, 3-10. I don't know if they're. No, they are officially eliminated from playoff contention. Why trot Brees Hall, who's banged? Why attempt to trot him back out there?
because he's young and he actually is one of their pieces of the future, he's going to be factoring in the plan. So you want him to look. I mean, he hasn't looked outstanding this year, so they want to have him look good and give him the actual reps. So that's why you want. That's a guy you want to give reps to is Brees Hall.
Where are we at with the whole? If you're eliminated from the playoffs, you still go out there and give it your all thing.
We've met some of these guys before, you and I, across multiple sports. These guys don't tank. They don't believe in that. Some might like the game more than others, but the common denominator between all of them and how they got this far is that they're competitive. So it's one thing for a coach to make moves for tanking. It's one thing for a GM to trade players for tanking. The players that go out there are not tanking. They're not. So what's the advantage? I mean, if you need the reps, there's guys that need the reps. Like this is a time in the season, I think 2 years ago for the Lions, that this is the time of year where Ife Melifonwu started to emerge. And James Houston, God rest his soul, 2 years ago. This is the time of year. And 3 years ago, this is when Anzarike and McNeil started to come out. So for the younger guys, this is where you go get good reps. The older guys, if you're out of it and you've had like a nagging injury all year, this is the time to go get it fixed so you can get ahead in the next season.
Do we think at any point you're going to see Aaron Rodgers not start a game for the Jets the rest of the way?
I think he's auditioning for his job.
So you don't see Aaron Rodgers as starter in New York next year?
I think it's
Yeah, I
less
think he'll be
likely.
there.
I think
You
it's
think he'll
less
be there?
likely than likely.
What's making you say that?
What do they got beside him?
They're going to have a great draft pick.
It doesn't matter. They're not gonna use it on a fucking quarterback. They're gonna use it to get that team better.
So you think right now Rodgers is
I think Rodgers is coming back. He said he was. He said he was coming back. And
He hasn't
until
said
Woody Johnson
definitively.
says he can get the fuck out.
He hasn't said
I would say
definitively he's coming back. He
He
said
did.
he hasn't. He said I'm
Okay.
pondering it, but if I do come back, it will be for the Jet. Like the Jets are my first choice if I come back. He hasn't said he's coming back. To Pat McAfee 2 weeks ago, he said I'm still pondering it.
Pat McAfee.
you don't like Pat McAfee now?
I never did. Go ahead.
Why?
Because I think he's a douchebag.
Why?
Because he is. He's got a big mouth and he's a douchebag.
God bless Pat McAfee, man.
Whatever.
God bless him. Should we talk about Monday night?
Sure.
I'm getting there. Hold on, because I'm all out of sorts here. The computer. I got too many things open at once here right now. Can you believe we're going into week 15? Oh, hold on.
Over Laporta, I kind of love Laporta this week,
So do I.
and Dalton Kincaid for that matter. I love him as well. He's healthy for the first time in weeks, so he'll be back for Buffalo. I think he's got potential to light the Lions up.
We only have 3 weeks of regular season action left. Can you believe that? Let's talk about Monday night. Obviously, the first thing that we need to discuss there, and it was talked about today a little bit, was that the face mask thing starting next year could now become a reviewable play. Your thoughts on that? Because this is the fourth time I can think of this year where we had in the fourth quarter, quarterback going to make a huge play, gets tore down by his face mask, and somehow the refs, who are always staring down the quarterback, miss it. Your thoughts on them making that reviewable?
The whole system's rigged.
What do you mean by that?
The whole system's rigged.
Why is the system rigged?
Because that's what it is. The NFL's rigged.
But now, after 3 years of this, now that's what you're going to
No,
come out and say
they're
the
rigged.
system's rigged?
It's fucking rigged, dude.
Yeah,
How
but
else do you
Cincinnati
mi-
ultimately won the game.
Explain it to me. How else do you miss it?
I don't know. I don't know how
Yeah,
it can keep
rigged.
getting missed.
It's fucking rigged.
The only thing I could think up is that when they're showing it in slow motion, it's just slowed down so much that they miss it in the split second that it does happen in real time. But that one was another one that was just
It
blatant.
was blatant, dude. Yeah,
Do you agree that it should become reviewable?
absolutely. Listen. This is how they play with the outcomes of games on fucking situations like this.
Yeah, because
To throw all the bettors off,
they
the
put,
gamblers. To throw all the gamblers off.
they put Dallas in position to win the game with that.
Yeah.
And didn't matter. Cincinnati still comes out on top 27-20. There was a blocked punt in this game late. And Jerry Jones had a lot to say about it afterwards. I honestly feel bad for the guy who muffed it because,
It was Imani Oruwariye from the Lions.
yeah. And Jerry Jones said he knows how big of a mistake he made. But when I was watching it happening, I wasn't picking up on the fact that, if he touches it and they grab it after it being blocked, it still is returnable. I didn't pick up on that in the moment. I thought it was Dallas's ball when it was happening. Did you at any point not have a full understanding that once the punt's blocked, it's not necessarily like a dead
A dead ball?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking,
I
the
always
punt
thought it was a
blocked.
dead ball. As
Yeah.
soon as they block it, it's
Right.
dead.
Once
You
it's blocked, it
you
doesn't
can't
matter who
advance it.
touches it. Right. So I'm
So
sitting
what
there
do you
thinking,
just
what the hell is
recover it
going
then?
on? Well, I
You're
guess.
telling
yeah.
me you can recover it and you could take it downfield.
What?
What?
I
was under the assumption that if the defense blocks a kick, that if an offensive player grabbed the ball, they can't advance that for a touchdown. I thought they blow it dead.
I thought it was too. As soon as Dallas touched the ball, I thought it was downed. Evidently,
You
I
talking
was
about
wrong.
from the tip of the punt?
Right after it was tipped.
After it was blocked.
Yeah.
Right. Once somebody.
If an offensive player grabs it, I thought you were not allowed to advance it. That it's a dead ball.
It's a dead ball for
The offense.
if the team that punted the ball recovers it, it's a dead ball and they get it. It was the scenario that played out. They get the ball first down from where they are. When Oruwariye went to field the block punt, he is essentially the returner in that instance. Even though he's a gunner.
Correct.
So
That's
he
what I
cannot touch it. It's the same thing as when someone's muffing a punt return. It's the same thing, or a kick return.
That's where
If
I
they
got
touch it,
twisted.
it's a live ball at that point. And he touched it, and it was a live ball. That was just bad. I don't know who their special teams coordinator is, but that's bad. Like, that's 101. Like, when it was tipped, and he saw it was tipped because the ball was coming at him, you run away. They call it poison. You're supposed to run away from it, and he didn't run away. And maybe he thought he could field it, but I mean, it went through your hands. It's tough. It's a tough play.
Yeah, that was some shit luck there. Other than that, we got to give a shout out to Rico Dowdle here. He has streamed together a couple really nice games in a row for a Dallas team that hasn't been able to run the ball much at all. He looked like a tough little runner on Monday night. I actually enjoyed watching him run the ball. Fair to say that the Zeke Elliott experiment didn't work out very well for the Cowboys?
I would say so.
Ashton Genty's going to thrive there.
You think that that's set in stone?
I think it's set in stone. If you recall, 9 years ago now, Zeke Elliott to the Cowboys was set in stone.
That's true. It was. Burrow continues to light it up, putting up MVP-like numbers in a season where he has no chance at it because they're awful. But
he converted a lesbian, too.
yeah, that is true. Yeah, so his house got broken into Monday night while he was playing. Did you hear about this?
No.
Yeah, Burrow's house was burglarized on Monday night while he was playing the game. And what was her name that was there?
Olivia Ponton.
Oh, yeah, she was at his house waiting for him to come home and when they broke into his house. Whole thing.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's official when we went live. Everyone's reporting it.
Can I right now, if you guys had to pick who is more valuable to their team between Derrick Henry and Jamar Chase, who would you pick?
Jamar Chase. Done. Case dismissed.
I would have to agree.
We've seen the Ravens without Derrick Henry.
This team would be in such. I don't know if they would have won a game yet without Jamar Chase.
The flip side of the coin is Joe Burrow, right? Like,
agree with
we
that,
saw
too.
last year how bad things were. I mean, they were more competitive last year. But
Yeah, because Jamar Chase didn't do much when Burrow was on.
no,
it.
he
Right.
didn't.
So
He didn't.
I would say Derrick Henry.
No, this year I think it's this. If we're going by this year,
I think Derrick Henry. Take him off the Ravens. They're not where they're at.
Can I pose another question to you?
Sure.
Saquon to the Eagles, is he more important to the Eagles than Derrick Henry is to the Ravens?
yes,
At this point, yes.
I agree.
yeah,
I agree.
that's their offense right now. That's Philly, red hot Philly that everyone's obsessed with. Their offense, as their top receiver is fighting with their quarterback.
Yeah.
Their offense is Saquon, and he fits there like it's a perfect fit. It's a literal perfect fit.
Do you guys have any other takeaways from this game? Oh, Cade York got pulled up off the street after McPherson got hurt and was perfect. He had 2 field goals and 3 extra points.
And he's dating a Cowboys cheerleader.
He is dating. Yeah, they made a big deal out of that one. They must have shown her. Every time he kicked the ball, they showed her. And she was just sitting there saying, thank God. So it shows you how much faith she had.
Inshallah.
Uncle Sam, do you have any other takeaways from that game?
No.
Nothing? Zero?
I mean, what are you going to say? There are 2 teams that are out of it. And, I mean, them winning or losing didn't really affect the other teams that are in their division.
Well, the one thing is that the Bengals did not get eliminated. If they would have lost that game, they would have been
They're done.
eliminated.
Dude. They're done. They need help from everybody else. They're fucking done.
The one interesting thing that I saw from this weekend is that the Dolphins and the Colts now have the exact same record. So on a hypothetical, if the Chargers or the Broncos continue to, drop some games, if they lose this week, and either the Dolphins or the Colts win, they come 1 game out of that playoff spot. And then the same thing goes for the Rams with that commander spot. They're only a game back now. And obviously, the Rams are still only a game out of the division.
The biggest game this week is Colts Broncos. It's got the most implications, and that's on a slate where there's Lions Bills, there's Eagles Steelers. The game with the most playoff implications this week is Colts Broncos. It's the biggest game because one of those teams gets in and one doesn't.
100%. To me, that one is, well, they can both still get in, but they make it much more difficult for the other one.
For the Colts, for sure, it's more difficult.
Yeah.
The Broncos, it's difficult, but they have games to work with, you know.
And then next week, going into week 16, you have the Chargers and the Broncos on Thursday Night Football.
Oh,
They play each other.
that's
You want to talk about a fucking game?
that's good,
That game has the weight of the world on his shoulders.
and it's
truly.
in LA.
It is in LA.
That should be a good one.
That should be a great game. There was another game on this weekend that I wanted to kind of preview just a little
Dolphins
bit here.
Texans.
No. But okay, that's another one. That's another one. You have a situation there where if Miami wins that game, it goes to 7-7. Houston goes to 8-6. Miami stays right in the hunt still.
Green Bay Seattle.
Green Bay, Seattle.
Great game. And they all, like, historically for the last 15 years, like going back to Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, these two teams always play absurdly good games whenever they play. I think that's why it's in prime time.
100%. That one for me is probably the biggest game of the weekend. What do you guys, have we gotten an injury report on the Lions yet or no?
Yeah, everyone practiced.
Everyone.
So DJ Reader was working off to the side, and he was considered no practice, but he was doing stuff. Pascal and Onzarike were limited. Taylor Decker and Aleem McNeil were both full participants in practice. If you get everyone but Reader back, I mean, that's as close as you're going to get to a full D line. Like, you could field a full D line. You have McNeil and Onzarike in the middle. You have Zendarius Smith and Pascal on the outside. So that could work. And then Taylor Decker is obviously huge. I mean, I think that's such an upgrade to the running game. Could be big.
Do you think any of this noise that's going on in Philadelphia right now is going to affect the Eagles this week hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers? Uncle Sam,
No,
you think so? You're back on the Nick Sirianni train. You're back
No,
on
I'm
the
not.
Philadelphia train.
no, I'm not. I'm not a Nick Sirianni guy. Don't like him. But I think they could be professional enough to let this little girl spat that they got going on go.
Probably the biggest game of the year so far for Philadelphia.
They know what they got to do.
You're back in on Philly, aren't you?
No, they know what they have to do, dude.
But
I think it's stupid. I think the media overblows shit just to get controversy, to get content. I get it.
so I know you're
That's
high.
what they do.
You're high on Pittsburgh, but there's no question in your mind you think Philadelphia's.
What do you mean?
That's a big game. There's
Yeah,
a whole slate
game.
of big games this weekend.
Yep.
You think that Philadelphia takes care of that one?
I think so. I mean, who's more dynamic?
Offensively, Philly
Correct.
for sure.
Philly. I mean, is Pickens playing?
So
No,
that's another.
Pickens is out again.
no, Pickens is.
Well, here you
probably out.
go. That's going to hinder Russ a little bit. I think they're going to have to control the clock more, run the football more to keep Philly off the field.
Which offense do you think is more potent between Cincinnati's offense and Philly's offense?
Obviously, Cincinnati. I mean, got Jamar
I
Chase.
don't know about that.
got Jamar Chase, and I think that Chase Brown has done a really good job in Cincinnati.
I also
actually.
love Chase Brown. I think Chase
I think he does a great job every week. He comes in, he plays hard, he does everything that's asked of him.
You want to know what I feel like
So-
Cincinnati's missing? Cincinnati's missing power. They're missing like a David Montgomery type. They're missing a guy who can put the team on his back And I mean, Derrick Henry and Saquon are like the two that you think of when it comes to that. But they have so much high flying ability, and like Chase Brown, when he gets in the open field, is just pretty close to uncatchable. But they don't have anybody who can like just pound you to death.
Well, I think he does pretty good with that too. He runs hard. I think he runs real hard. I like what I see out of him. I'm surprised they don't play Herbert more. Khalil Herbert. I'm surprised he doesn't get more snaps. He's a good in between the tackle guy. I'm kind of surprised he doesn't touch the ball that much.
Why they trade for him?
I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, why trade for him if you're not going to use him?
You trade for him
Doesn't
at the
make any
deadline.
sense.
You trade for him at the deadline to try and I'm guessing they wanted him to play that complementary role to Chase Brown, and he just hasn't been used. Just completely hasn't been used in that aspect. Which is, do you think there's any chance at all that Zach Taylor saves his job at the end of the year and can come back from this with the same crew next year and try and get Cincinnati back in?
I think he's going to have to make changes on the defense, and if he doesn't do that, I don't think he'll be back next year.
There was something that I wanted to bring up. I wanted to know if you wanted to talk a little bit about mock drafts today. Now that the college football regular season is done, and before we get into bowl games and guys start sitting out and all that stuff, would you care to talk any about college football at all?
I don't care.
I think we should do that. Let's see. We're going to go off of the first one that I can find here. And this one is from Field Yates. How do you feel about Field Yates? Because I know you have opinions about a lot of these college writers.
Listen, I don't care what any of them write. You're asking the wrong person. Ask Zolo.
Okay, so if you had to say right now the Giants with the number 1 overall pick, who do they take?
A quarterback.
Have to take a quarterback.
Do the Giants have number 1? I thought it was the Raiders.
Right now, as of
Raiders.
This is as of December 11th. This is today. This came out today. So no, Giants are still have the number 1 pick. They're both 2-11. So somehow the Giants must have the tiebreaker.
Maybe it's
who's the biggest pile
tiebreaker.
of shit.
Who's the biggest fucking load of garbage?
Right
The
now,
Giants are going to have a bad thing just because I think they continue to lose and go down the stretch here without winning. I think that Dabo's gone. I think that their GM is gone. I think he's gone. Joe
That guy's
Shane.
gone no matter what.
Yeah, I think they're out. I think they're both out, to be honest with you.
right now, Field Yates has Shedeur Sanders going number 1 overall to the Giants.
I would not take Shedeur Sanders
It's
number 1.
crazy that it's Raiders, Giants, because they both need quarterbacks. So that's like the kind, like it wasn't like that before. Jacksonville was 1 for the longest time and didn't need a quarterback. So it's very interesting that these two, and yeah, I think Shedeur will end up going number 1. He's more pro ready than is number 2 Cam Ward.
The Raiders say Cam Ward at number 2.
He's more pro ready than Cam Ward, but I think the fit of
You think
Shedeur.
so?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
I don't.
I do. He makes less mistakes than Cam Ward. Cam Ward.
Yeah, but
probably,
I actually think Shedeur is a little overrated. I don't think he's that good of a quarterback. That's my opinion. I don't know. He tries to get too cute, and it just doesn't work out.
So the problem with Cam Ward is he's got beans for brains, and he makes so many mistakes. But as a passer, as an like the arm talent, it's Anthony Richardson. Cam Ward, his comp is Anthony Richardson. The potential with Cam Ward is significantly higher than Shedeur, in my opinion. I just think Shedeur can functionally run an offense at this phase because Shedeur has a high football IQ. But if we're going talent-wise, I think it's Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward's a little bit better. But, I mean, either way, it's a weak quarterback crop either way.
This one's really interesting to me. Number 3, currently the Patriots.
Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Gotta go him.
Yeah. He's the best player in college football.
Yes.
He should win the Heisman. It shouldn't be Genty. I don't care what anyone says. Even if Genty had circus numbers, he did it against lower competition. What Travis Hunter did on both sides of the ball all year, for 2 years really, Travis Hunter's the best college football player I've seen since Ndamukong Suh, like in terms of his impact on a game. Ndamukong Suh's junior year at Nebraska was the only comp in my lifetime, and then Charles Woodson before
Genty's
that.
over there ready to break Barry Sanders' records. I mean,
Barry Sanders did it in the Big 12, though. Genty's doing it against who? Who's he playing
Okay.
against? San Diego
well,
State?
I mean, okay. I mean, it's still Division I ball. I mean, that's his record stood for how long? Since fucking 1989,
And also, in fairness to Genty,
1988.
Genty was, I think he missed it by 180 yards, and he
Yeah.
sat for, like, he could have gotten it. He could have easily gotten
Yeah.
it. And it's the modern era, so credit where it's due. I've seen more impressive running. Like, with the eye test, I've seen running backs that are more impressive than Genty. Genty's by far the best running back in this class. He's outstanding. I just don't think he impacts a football game like Shedeur Sanders. That's a story for another time. The Patriots getting Shedeur at number 3, like anywhere you put him at receiver. It's a great get for Drake May. You put him opposite Christian Gonzalez. That's a great get for their defense. Like he fits no matter what.
Listen, he's a better DB than he is a receiver.
Agreed,
It's
100%.
just-
100%.
I wouldn't even have him playing off.
You don't think you wouldn't utilize him on both sides?
Travis Hunter's
He's
an
a DB.
elite corner. An elite corner.
His skills translate better
Yes.
professionally as a corner than they do it as a receiver.
With him and Christian
Elite corner.
Gonzalez, that would be
That's such
Yeah.
a good secondary.
that is an incredible secondary to build off of. What do you guys think Carolina needs the most at 4?
Bill Belichick.
A receiver, and it's Tetaroa McMillan, right? Is that
No.
who Field Yates has? Do they have Mason
No.
Graham there?
Nope,
Do they? Okay, what position is it?
it's an edge rusher.
Is it the guy from Georgia?
No, Abdul Carter from
Oh,
Penn State.
He's a late riser right now. He's very good. Abdul Carter is like he wears number 11 is the number that Micah Parsons wore and LeVar Arrington wore. Abdul Carter is wearing 11, and he looks very good right now. He's one of the most intriguing players to watch going into the playoff is Abdul Carter. I'm excited to see him.
What do you guys think Cleveland needs? Besides the obvious, which is
30-30.
quarterback.
I think they need a quarterback, to be honest with you.
They
What do they have?
I don't think they need a quarterback. I think they need to go best player available.
Offensive
Huh?
line, those are both good.
Calvin Banks, tackle out of
player
Texas.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
pick.
The Jets.
It's a corner. That's going to be Will Johnson there, right?
Nope.
What position?
Defensive tackle
It's not
There you go,
Mason
there's
Graham.
Mason
kid.
Graham.
Mason Graham.
from Michigan.
Did the Jets really need a tackle though?
Why not?
See,
Why not put him right next to Quentin Williams?
I mean, yeah, but
You know,
if
Put him
I'm the
next to
Jets,
Quentin Williams to turn him loose.
why not go
They
get
need edge.
offensive
They
line now?
need edge rusher. I don't know
They
why.
took an offensive lineman last year, and,
Yeah.
and then they signed one in free agency.
and it still didn't do enough.
They need edge rusher bad.
Tennessee at 7,
What position
wide receiver.
is that? Tetaroa McMillan?
Yes, it is out of Arizona.
He's not going to be there.
You don't think he makes it to 7?
He'll be gone in the top 5. He's very good, but if he lands in
If he
Tennessee,
got all these quarterbacks going 1 and 2, he could drop.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I still think who's 3 and 4.
You got Carolina at 4.
The Patriots
Cleveland
need a
at 5.
receiver, right? So they could look at him as a receiver. Carolina needs a receiver, in my opinion. I don't think Carolina is going to draft a detail.
Well, Patriots are going to take Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
There's no way he's getting past the Patriots. There's no fucking way, dude.
Who's 8?
Jacksonville.
Corner, Will Johnson.
Yes. Didn't he declare today?
I also think
Yeah.
he did. I also think if Jacksonville can somehow crack the top 3, Travis Hunter, 100%. He would thrive there too.
See, the interesting thing about Jacksonville is we have no idea who's going to be in charge because I don't think Doug Peterson makes it out of this.
No, and Trent Baalke's also going to get fired too. Doug Peterson gets fired.
At 9, they have Chicago.
Is it an offensive lineman?
It is an offensive lineman.
Is it
They need.
what school? Ohio?
LSU.
LSU. I can't remember his name, but
Will Campbell, offensive tackle from Louisiana State. Let's see who else is notable here. Now you said
keep
Michael
going down the
Williams.
list. Go down to 10. Yeah, Michael. Is he 10?
Yep, to going to the Saints.
I'm excited for the playoff to watch some of these guys, and Michael Williams he's been good for the most part this year, but he's really come on at the end, and I think that's why Abdul Carter is as high as he has him here. On paper, Michael Williams is probably better than Abdul Carter, but good players all around.
This one's interesting for me. 11 is Cincinnati. And what do you think is a bigger need for Cincinnati? Because I know how bad their defenses looked, but also they cannot protect Burrow. Do you think they should go defense?
They draft linemen
know,
every year,
and it just
dude.
doesn't work.
They're just not
Didn't
developed.
they draft one last year?
Yes.
Yeah.
They draft them every year, and it just
Here's the thing: Burrow is still extremely functional without the protection.
true.
Their defense is the problem this year, so I would sink resources into the defense. And I know there's injuries, right? Dax Hill's injured.
Yes.
What's his face from Michigan?
Dex Hill.
DJ, the kid from last year. DJ, the fast kid. Who am I thinking of? He's injured as well. They're also missing another corner.
DJ Turner.
DJ Turner. Sorry, his name didn't come to me.
No,
Fix the defense.
they have him going edge rusher. James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Number 12, the Dallas Cowboys.
Got to be Genty.
Ashton Genty.
Yeah.
Why are you shaking your head? You don't like that?
What's that?
Genty to the Cowboys?
I actually like him going to Cincinnati.
Honestly.
No, you and I like
Huh?
Chase Brown. We're big Chase Brown guys,
Uh-huh.
you and I.
I don't know if they're sold on him. That's the problem.
Who?
You can
Cincinnati?
here's the thing. The recipe that worked for the Lions and it's worked for other teams is you draft a young guy, which is Chase Brown, and then you sign the other guy in free agency. Like there's going to be good running backs that come up in free agency to pair with Chase Brown. You know, I feel like the Bengals, you're not off thinking that they need a running back, but I just feel like they'll address that in free agency. I think Genty to the Cowboys is a perfect fit. I can't think of a better. It's what's missing from their game is the running back.
Dominant running.
Like when I think of Dallas, their
And
best
a receiver, too.
13,
Wait.
Miami.
Jalen Tolbert ain't the answer.
What about Kevontae Turpin?
Guy's good at returning kicks.
He's going to be a Pro
Yeah.
Bowler, yeah.
Miami needs defense. I don't know where though. Maybe a D end.
They're going.
Actually, I think they need more secondary, dude.
Well, you're on to
They're
something.
not going to be able to sign some of these guys that are
safety?
there.
A safety. Javon Holland is going to be a free agent.
Yep.
Is Isaiah
Amari
Pacheco
Cooper.
or Amari Cooper?
Amari Cooper this week. Browns run D is very good, and Pacheco has not looked the part going forward. I like Cooper. All of the pieces are coming back for Buffalo this week. Kincaid will be back, and Keon Coleman will be back. So this is the first time Josh Allen's going to have the full weaponry in his offense in a very long time. The last time he had it, Amari Cooper lit it up. So I love Shakir this week, and I love Amari Cooper this week. And that doesn't mean I love Kincaid. It doesn't mean I don't love Keon Coleman too, but I just think that Josh Allen's passing attack is going to be very good.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off that question because this is Fantasy Frenzy still, after all. Would you play Amari Cooper or Jordan Addison in your flex?
Ride the hot hand with Jordan Addison.
I know. As if Amari Cooper's sitting there and nothing to do with him. Okay, number 13, we have Miami Dolphins. They are taking a safety. Do you know which safety it could be?
No.
Malaki Starks out of Georgia.
He's
Okay.
good. Malachi Starks is good. He's been there for everything.
Malachi
as well.
Malaki.
He's won a national
Malaki?
championship.
Malaki.
He's a good player.
14, Indianapolis. Indy's an interesting one. What do they need?
Offensive line,
Field Yates disagrees with you.
defensive line.
Yes.
Who is it?
Derek Harmon from Oregon. 15, the 49ers. I'm noticing a trend here.
The Niners need secondary bad.
Well, unfortunately, Field Yates disagrees with you.
Okay, what do they need? Offensive
Walter
line.
Nolan, defensive tackle from Ole
Wow,
Miss.
that's a reach.
That just doesn't make any sense. to
That's
me.
a reach. Walter Nolan's good, but there's better D tackles, including
They have
Kenneth
Von
Grant.
Hargrave. They don't need him, dude.
They
got young guys that they're playing right now.
this is his reasoning, if we care.
Yeah.
With the massive extension looming for Brock Purdy, the 49ers are going to be in cap hell,
Okay.
pretty much, and they're going to lose guys on their defense. It's pretty much what he's saying.
Well, maybe the Hargrave is gone then.
16, Arizona.
quarterback.
Jalen Walker,
Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah.
That's another edge rush. It's two that they took. They took our friend Darius Robinson last year from Missouri. So
Are you ready for another edge rusher?
Yeah, tell me the school and I'll tell you the
The
player.
Atlanta Falcons at number 17.
What school?
Texas A&M.
Shamar Stewart.
It is indeed Shamar Stewart.
He's good.
The Rams.
Offensive line.
Yes.
Or
need
it's
a bad
offensive line.
Offensive
They
line.
need O-line bad.
They do need O-line.
Who is it? What school?
Ohio State.
What's his name? It's either Cooper or Josh Simmons.
Josh Simmons from Ohio
Yeah.
State. Where are we at here? Let me look.
Amari Cooper, Jaden Reed.
Oof, that's,
Murray Cooper.
so Jaden Reed really threw me this week. He put up a nice big 0 for me.
He cost people their leagues this week. Jaden.
I thought he was going to cost me a playoff spot. Bruce asked me if he should bet on Dontavian Wicks against the Lions, and I was like, no, you got to bet on Jaden Reed. That was a mistake on my part because he did not put up any stats against the Lions. I don't feel good about him right now after that because
I don't feel good about any Packer receiver.
I don't feel good about anything
because
with
you
the
just
Packers.
can't. You don't know
Who it's going to be,
who it's going to be from one week to the next.
especially against Seattle.
None of them are consistent. None of them are even relevant. Dobbs is hurt. They can't all get on the field at the same time. One guy's active, one guy's inactive. It's a joke, dude. It's an utter joke. And that's partly why you have a quarterback that can't build a rapport with anybody is because they're not available from one week to the next. And it's hard for him to find anybody anyway. So that's another reason why they're dog shit.
I agree. But it's just, there's no rhyme or reason to it. You know what I mean? There's no rhyme or reason to it. How do we feel about Green Bay going into Seattle this week? That, for me, is the most interesting.
I don't know, dude.
Such a good game. I think Green Bay is very good. I think they're the second best team in the NFC behind the Lions. They just don't play like it. And if there's one place where you will get exposed for not playing your best football
Seattle.
after Kansas City, it's Seattle.
I agree.
And I'm excited. It's a litmus test for Seattle too. Like you've been hot the last couple weeks, but you haven't been convincing. So how convincing can you be? And on top of that, they lose ground. Right, the Rams play tomorrow, so they could lose ground if they don't get that game. It's good. That's a good game.
You know,
Go Seahawks.
I
Go
was
Seahawks.
thinking about something here. Right now, if we talk about the Coach of the Year candidate,
As long as we can go back to the draft.
we're going back. I promise. We're going to jump. But it's kind of interesting. I guess there's two ways you could look at it. How good did your team do, and how good did your team perform over expectations? And you kind of got to make a little bit of a case for Seattle. I didn't expect Seattle to be leading that division. And I mean, I don't think anybody expected Minnesota to be 11-2
There you go.
after losing their starting quarterback.
If it's a choice between Mike McDonald and Kevin O'Connell, I'm taking Kevin O'Connell. I think the Vikings have absurdly exceeded expectations this year.
What about
Yeah.
Dan Quinn?
No.
Why?
There's a chance they might
Why?
even miss the playoffs.
Yeah, they might not even make the playoffs.
That's narrative based. That's you went to Washington and you did the thing that no one's been able to do for a long time. That franchise has had it down bad. No, I don't think on Dan Quinn
All right.
because they're also collapsing right now.
What about Jim Harbaugh?
100% should be in the conversation.
All of us thought the Chargers were going to be total dog shit this year. And I know how much you hate Jim Harbaugh. Okay? I know how much you hate him. But you have to admit, the fact that the Chargers are more likely than not going to be a playoff team, that's impressive coaching.
I'm still going Kevin O'Connell over Harbaugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jim Harbaugh very much needs to be in that conversation.
So right now, obviously, Dan Campbell is leading it. With O'Connell behind him, Mike Tomlin behind him,
That's
Sean
another good
Payton,
one.
and that's another
Yeah,
one. A team
that's a
that
good one.
exceeded expectation. with Dan Quinn, Mike McDonald, of course, Andy Reid,
No.
and then Jim Harbaugh.
I don't think Andy Reid is playing beyond expectation. No.
Dr. Roberts in the chat, he said, "Go Bills. Josh Allen is quickly becoming my favorite quarterback of all time, but Jim Kelly still wins by a nose." He said,
Dr. Robert, are you 60 years old?
he said that we have a very nice set. Oh, Jesus. He said we have a very nice set. Shout out to you, Dr. Roberts. Shout out to you. Hurts or Jaden Daniels this week?
Oof.
You know what's interesting? And we should talk about that too. Jaden Daniels seemed like a sure lock for Rookie of the Year the first half of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think that there's a question in that. But
I think he's third. With him and I, Uncle Sam and I have talked about this.
Jaden Daniels against the Saints or Hurts up against Pittsburgh.
Those are two bad matchups. I think those are two matchups against good defenses. I'm going to defer to Jaden Daniels against the Saints for three reasons. Number one, he's coming off of a bye. I think that's key. Number two, he's indoors. Number three, I think they need the win. Number four, this goes back to Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has not looked outstanding the last couple weeks as a court. Like, their offense has been Saquon. So is he going to go and shred? Is he going to be the one that goes and shreds Pittsburgh's defense?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I would go Daniels against the Saints. I think you have more points-wise. I think you're better off there. What do you think?
I agree.
I would take Hurts.
We think he's going to get tush-pushed a couple times against Pittsburgh?
Of course, that's what he does, dude. That's
If
all
there's
he
any team that
does. He
could
gets all his points.
if there's any team that could stop the tush-push, though, don't you think Pittsburgh would be the ones to figure it out?
We'll see.
As far as Rookie of the Year goes, Jaden Daniels is still the favorite amongst most sports books. Right now,
I don't think that's right. I don't
I'm
believe
looking
that.
at
I
the
think,
live odds right now.
I think Bo Nix has to be in that conversation.
Bo Nix
Bo
is
Nix
significantly
has-
better than Jaden.
He has very much so closed the gap.
Yeah.
And then there's a pretty good sized gap, and then Brock Bowers is in third.
For me, Brock Bowers is 2. I'm putting Brock Bowers second to to Bo Nix, and I'd have if Jaden Daniels goes on some magical run over the next month, I'll buy back in. Like, he's got to beat Philly at home. He's got to win 3 of his next 4 for Jaden Daniels to get Rookie of the Year, in my opinion.
Right now, you think it's Bo Nix.
Yeah, Bo Nix has gotten better every week. Jaden Daniels just had a couple magical first 8 weeks. Like, they've dropped off a lot. Bo Nix is playing better football
Bowers
right
set
now.
the rookie record and has 3
Yeah,
games to go.
and we had this
So
conversation the other day.
Yeah.
What Brock Bowers is doing, not just as a tight end, but from a pass catching standpoint, as a rookie, is it's absurd.
There's no chance they'll give it to somebody that's not a quarterback, though.
If Brock Bowers lights it up, like if he goes and fractures every rookie receiving record, I mean, he'll at least be in the conversation. It doesn't always. I mean, think about it. It went to Garrett Wilson 2 years ago.
Do you think that whichever one of the two between Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix if hypothetically one makes the playoffs and one doesn't, like, if Denver falls apart and doesn't make the playoffs, should Jaden Daniels get the award if they make the playoffs?
If
What if
Bo
they
Nix-
both fall apart?
Well, then it should be Brock
What if
Bowers.
they both fall apart? It should be
No.
Brock Bowers.
No,
I think.
if Bo Nix this is the difference. Is Bo Nix's trajectory has gone like this from week 1.
Right.
Jaden Daniels has been like this, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
his is kind of going downhill.
and it's not to say, like, I have always loved, you guys know, Uncle Sam and I have always loved Jaden Daniels from moment 1. Like, he's very good. But I just think Bo Nix is having a better season all around. And he's got less pieces, too. Like, their offense is dog shit. Who you throwing to? They just released Josh Reynolds. He revived Cortland Sutton. That's his
true.
best pass catcher, Cortland
That's
Sutton.
true. That's true. As far as defense Rookie of the Year,
Verse.
Uncle Sam?
I don't know. Verse.
Quinion Mitchell's a distant second.
It's not distant. He has really closed the gap.
I'm just saying for me.
It's almost a push at this point.
Verse.
But Verse is still number
Verse
one.
is a game wrecker. He impacts games.
And then there's a huge drop off, and it goes to Cooper DeJean and Chop Robinson. But Verse,
Chop Robinson has 3 sacks this year, dude. Give me a break. Guy's fucking trash.
Jumping over here to TikTok, how do you feel about Nico Collins this week? I feel like we get this question every week, but
He just hasn't been. He was wide receiver 1 when he got injured, and
I know,
just hasn't.
and it was like by a wide distance.
It's more a man. It is more a Stroud problem than anything else.
I agree. What happened in Houston? How did they just get so bad so fast?
They're missing that zhuzh.
They have no zhuzh. Is Garendo playing this week?
I heard he's questionable.
He is questionable.
Like limited in practice today.
At that point, what do you do? Like, who? I don't know. How many more running backs do they possibly have?
Their season's over, so
I don't know about that.
you think they're getting in?
Where did that come from?
They looked pretty good last week, man. They look strong. Defense is starting to play better. They're going to get what's his name back here next week.
Boza?
No,
Greenlaw?
huh?
Greenlaw?
Yeah,
I have not heard you say one good thing about San Francisco all year.
I thought they were dead. I thought they were DOA till I seen them last week. You know, they played inspiring ball for 3 quarters.
So that's
Then the last
division.
quarter, they let Chicago back in the game. Sort of like the Lions did the same thing the week prior. Well, 2 weeks prior.
I guess that's the division where anybody could still take it.
Yeah,
Arizona's lost 3 in a row.
right.
So it's Seattle's 8-5. The Rams are 7-6. Arizona and San Francisco are both 6-7. Do either of you think that changes?
Could.
Yes, it
You got
could.
3 games left.
It
You got
could.
3 games left. If they can win out, and Arizona continues to drop,
You need Seattle to lose 2 of the next 3
yeah.
to even have a chance.
Do they have to play San Francisco here?
Let's see.
Bless you.
Thank you. So this is San Francisco's schedule. They play the Rams tomorrow.
Okay.
Then they're at Miami,
Okay.
at home against the Lions,
Okay.
at Arizona.
So they don't play Seattle. Did they split with Seattle or they lose both games?
Lost that one. They split with Seattle.
They split.
Yeah.
So they're still in it.
Mhm.
Mathematically, they're not out of it.
No, nobody's out in
No.
that division. That's what
No.
I'm saying. Seattle's next 4 are at home against Green
Oh.
Bay. Oh, this is
It's real simple. They lose this game to the Rams. I think they're done.
Yes, San Francisco.
Yeah.
This is Seattle's next 4. At home against Green Bay,
At home against Minnesota.
at home against Minnesota,
They go to who's the last team? They go to
at Chicago,
yeah.
on the
then-
day after Christmas,
And then is it Niners at the end?
at the Rams.
Oh, Rams. Yeah.
That's not an easy.
That is not easy. And that Bears game gets interesting because you have to go to Chicago.
Right. And the Bears are going to be playing. That'll be their Super Bowl.
I think Arizona's the one team in that division that's dead, personally.
I think San Francisco's also.
You think San Francisco's dead?
Yeah, because when you're at this point in December, like it's mid-December after this week, when you're at mid-December and you need other teams to lose on top of you winning, that's too many factors. And then on top of that,
Yeah, it happened to Detroit.
add in the fact that they're banged up, like they're injured. Like Trent Williams is not playing again this week. They're missing both running backs for the rest of the year. You know, I think you don't necessarily pack it up, but I just don't see things trending in the right direction.
Well, let's talk about the Rams trajectory because the Rams are that are 1 game back. And realistically, it wouldn't shock. Would it shock either of you if Seattle drops the next 2?
No.
To Green Bay and
No.
Minnesota.
No, not at all.
The Rams go to San Francisco this week.
Listen, in a perfect world, you want them to drop both of those if you're a Detroit fan, because then that just seals up the division for them.
You want Seattle to win both of them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Agreed.
Well, yeah.
Minnesota. You need
Yeah.
Seattle to beat Minnesota.
Yeah.
The Rams go to San Francisco this week. Then they go to the Jets. Then they come home to play Arizona and finish the year against Seattle. That Rams versus Seattle game could be for the division in week 18.
Yeah.
If Seattle's good, we'll know in
Yeah,
the next 2 weeks.
I agree.
Because if their coach has them ready to play, which I think at a minimum their coach is going to have them ready to play, they should win the next 2 games.
Dark Human in the chat. Do I play Dowdle or Kenneth Walker against Steven this week? In a playoff
I
matchup.
just had this conversation and he disagreed with me. One of the players that stood out to me more than anybody this weekend, and then I looked at the numbers as well, and it holds up for how they perform, is Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet was one of the best offensive players I saw this weekend, and I think their offense functions so much better with him getting the bulk of the snaps. And it's not that Kenneth Walker's not good, because Kenneth Walker's outstanding. I just think that Charbonnet has played over the last 2 weeks. That's going to be a split if Kenneth Walker plays. Whereas Dowdle is the featured back, has looked good, has continued to look good.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I would lean Rico Dowdle.
It's a lean.
It's a lean. It's a lean. Okay, jumping back to mock drafts here. At 19 right now, we have Tampa Bay. What do you think Tampa Bay needs? One thing that I immediately thought of was wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Chris Godwin, who's going to be coming back from a major injury. You have Mike Evans is just getting another year older. He's still productive, but still another year older. And all those guys who are behind them aren't really world beaters.
I like the kid from last week. It was really nice.
Yeah, we
Jalen
talked
McMillan?
about that.
Yep.
Jalen McMillan was outstanding at Washington last year, and if they were smart, they would continue to try and get him reps because he has potential to really open up that offense.
They haven't taken an edge rusher
They need it.
from Texas A&M.
They haven't been able to replace what's his name that left last year.
JPP.
No. 58. I'm drawing a fucking blank here.
So am I. Sorry.
Hold on. I don't. Are you sure it was? Oh, Shaq Barrett.
Shaq Barrett. They haven't been able to replace him.
20.
When he was there, he was next to the league in sacks.
That's
So
true.
I mean, they
What
haven't
happened
been
to him?
able. I don't even know.
Wasn't he Miami?
Yeah, he plays for the Dolphins now.
And they didn't activate. He
oh,
left.
they cut him.
He
he's a free
left
agent.
camp and he quit on them, and then he tried to come back, and they said, "We're not activating you."
Yeah.
I don't even think he's a free agent. I think he's just not active
No.
because he big dicked them, so they big dicked him back.
Washington,
What position?
wide receiver.
Luther Burden.
Yes, Luther Burden.
You can make the case that Luther Burden is one of the best receivers in football. In fact, was there a receiver that went in? Have we said a receiver's name other than Travis Hunter?
The kid from
Yeah.
Oh,
Carolina.
Tedero McMillan. Yeah, I mean, Luther Burden at 20. Luther Burden in the top, outside of the top 10 is a steal.
You think
He's-
so?
Yeah, he's that good. He's very good.
Denver at 21.
What position?
It's gonna give it away. Tight end.
Colston Loveland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. That'd be amazing fit for them.
22.
What team?
Houston.
What position?
Offensive line.
Is it one of the Bama or Ohio State guys?
No.
I don't know them.
Jonah Saviana.
He's out west somewhere.
Arizona.
State or, yeah, Arizona. Okay.
23. Seattle.
What position?
Arizona offensive lineman or Alabama offensive lineman.
Cooper or Booker.
Booker.
Yeah.
The Chargers.
They need Colston Loveland, so this is a tight end. And it's the kid from Penn State whose name is eluding me right now.
Tyler
Warren?
Warren.
Warren, yeah.
Baltimore. This is an interesting
they
one.
need
position?
tight end.
Edge.
Yeah,
What
that's
school?
Marshall.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Mike Green, edge rusher from Marshall. Green Bay, also taking an edge rusher at 26. Kyle Kennard from South Carolina.
I don't know.
Pittsburgh, taking Maxwell Hairston, cornerback from Kentucky.
He's good. He's if you pair him with Joey Porter too, he's that prototypical 6'2" big body corner. Very good player. And the SEC too. Think about all the action that he sees.
28, Philadelphia.
What position?
What do you think Philadelphia needs, Uncle Sam?
At this point,
Yeah.
I think they need edge rusher.
O lineman.
Well, because what's the name? Brandon Graham is probably done after this year.
True.
They haven't been able to. Josh Sweat has been average. and they need somebody that can really push the pocket.
Edge rusher or O lineman, one of the two.
They are going offensive line. Cameron Williams from Texas.
Okay.
The Bills,
What position?
wide receiver.
Have we said Mecca Ibuka yet?
Yes.
Again, same. If they get him at 29, that is an absolute steal.
Oh, wait, what did you just say?
29.
No, whose name?
Emeka Ibuka.
That's who they have going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard Mecca, and I was looking at an E.
No,
but it's
he's
Emeka Ibuka. Yeah.
Extremely good.
At 30, the Minnesota Vikings.
Defense.
Do you care to guess? What do you think the Vikings need?
I have no idea.
Corner, Siobhan Revel Jr. from East Carolina.
Never heard of him.
Kansas City.
Offensive lineman. A tackle.
Aronate Ezri, offensive tackle from Minnesota.
Never heard of him, but they need a tackle.
Number 32, the Detroit Lions.
It's going to be edge rusher or some sort of offensive lineman.
What do you think the Lions need?
Well, they need O-line.
So here, if we spend a second breaking it down, love Taylor Decker, but you need, like, he's been banged up this year, so you need a contingency in case he continues to be banged up. The two guards are north of 32, if I remember correctly. Zeitler and
Zeitler's 34. Graham Gazglow is 32.
yeah, exactly. But also, like, they've needed to draft an edge rusher high for the last for a while.
They need linebacker too. No.
They did indeed go offensive line.
What
Guard.
school?
Ohio State.
Donovan Jackson.
Yes.
And he's very good, too. That'd be a good get for them.
Would either of you be upset with that?
No. Nope. Because then you
I mean,
have...
what are you going to do? If you're picking at 32, I mean, what are you going to do?
At some point, they're going to need... And I'd be cool with them trading as well. Like, you know who else I love, who we haven't said his name, is Jack Sawyer from Ohio State, the kid that got offended when Michigan planted the flag. He would look so good. So good opposite Aiden Hutchinson.
Did you mean to set me up that good for my little closing talk here?
No.
So a law was passed in the state of Ohio today. Representative Josh Williams introduced the Ohio Sportsmanship Act to make flag planting at midfield in any stadium in the state of Ohio a felony punishable by jail time. This was introduced today. It specifically cited the Michigan versus Ohio State game that took place, and it is now a felony in the state of Ohio to plant a flag at midfield at Ohio Stadium. Uncle Sam, your thoughts?
Stupid.
You were an advocate for the flag planting being.
I think the flag planting thing is stupid. Period. Stupid. This makes it even more stupid. Now this will make it to the point where somebody's just going to do it to fucking break the law.
So I heard that...
Because I know I would.
I heard it's just a level of trolling because the rep that
Correct.
introduced it is from Toledo, and he teaches at Adrian College, and he's a huge Lions fan. So I would suspect that he's just trolling Ohio because he's able to do this, and it's just on behalf of Michigan. Because there's no way this is real. That's a joke.
Yeah, there's no way it's a
So
felony.
if they go through and vote through it, like, that would be hilarious. It would just make their school and their state look really bad if they did that. Look really bad.
Yeah. Ohio State also released their schedule for next year.
Mm-hmm. Michigan as well.
I actually wanted to ask you guys one last thing about college football before we leave, because obviously did you guys touch on that Monday?
What's that? The playoff?
The playoff?
Yeah, but we could do it again.
I would like to real fast if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, please.
A lot of controversy between really
Alabama, SMU.
Yes. Did you guys already do this?
No, we didn't. No.
So obviously Alabama had the harder strength of schedule. They played heavier opponents, beat bigger teams, won bigger games. What are your thoughts on SMU making it into the playoff over a team like Alabama?
What's SMU's record?
So you think it just strictly comes down to record?
What's her record?
I think they're 11-2. They lost to Clemson in the championship.
So they
game,
have
and then
2
the
losses.
loss.
And they lost their conference championship.
How many Alabama has? 3?
3, but
3
but
losses?
they lost to 3 playoff teams, if I remember
Right.
correctly.
That is correct.
They lost to
Well-
they lost to Georgia, they lost to Texas, and who?
I mean, this is what the playoff was brought in for. This is what it's supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be doing more parity. I mean, that's why they did this. So
You want my take?
Yeah.
There's too many teams.
Ooh,
And-
I never thought I would hear that.
And it's the same like no matter if they add more teams, like there's always going to be a debate for whoever's just on that next seed line. Well, we should get in for this reason. We should get those two teams
win your fucking games.
win your games.
Win your fucking games, dude.
Win your games.
There's no excuse. Win
That's-
your fucking games.
That's
man.
part of it, but like we're gonna continue to if they keep adding more teams, which is stupid, and then they got the seed lines. Like Penn State got so lucky with their draw.
With
and-
SMU.
Yeah, they get SMU and potentially they play Boise State afterwards.
They're
only-
going to get exposed as soon as they play somebody good.
SMU.
You talk about
No,
Penn State.
Penn State.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. SMU, they played BYU in week 3 and lost by a field goal. That was a ranked opponent.
Right.
And then they lost to Clemson. Those are the only 2 ranked opponents
Okay.
they played this year, and
Okay.
they lost both. They beat Florida State.
Wouldn't it be a really good fucking thing if they walk in there and punch fucking Penn State in the mouth?
Yes,
be
but
cool.
Hey,
It would
hey,
be cool.
What would be better than that?
It'd be
It
cool.
What would
would
be
be
better
cool.
than that? Doesn't anybody fucking go back quite a few years when a highly touted Alabama team went into Boise and got their fucking asses handed to them. That shit you remember. You don't remember the teams that every year that Alabama stomps somebody or Georgia stomps somebody. You don't remember that shit. But I truly remember that game when Alabama lost to Boise.
How long
on the
ago was that?
Statue of Liberty place.
It was Oklahoma.
Fuck.
It was Oklahoma.
I'm sorry, it's Oklahoma.
It was the
My bad.
I know what you're talking
My
about.
bad.
It was the 2007 Fiesta Bowl,
Something
which
like
is one of the
that.
best
They got
college
their-
football games I've
That
ever
was one
seen.
of the best games I had ever seen.
Yes, but wouldn't you have rather seen Penn State host Alabama than Penn State host SMU?
You know what? Not really. Like I said, I will say this. I mean, a lot of people ain't a fan of the playoff. I am, because you're truly the good teams are going to run through this. They
Yeah.
should.
They should.
And if they don't deserve to be there.
That's the thing is I think we've added 4 teams that are not as good when there has to be a debate. Like there you can find 8 definitive good teams. I'm cool
Yeah.
with 8. I think 8's a great number. You make every team you want to win the national championship, you got to win 3 games.
Well, you got 12 right now.
It's too many.
It's 12 right now.
You have 4 teams
How
that
many
are not
bowl
quality.
games is there?
In general or just with the playoff?
How many bowl games is there? In
Oh,
general.
there's like 20, isn't there, give or take?
Okay.
Bowl games? I think there's like 30.
30.
There's a lot
Okay.
of bowl
30.
games.
Here's the thing. I like the it being set up almost like the NCAA tournament. I kind of like it. I don't mind.
Until March.
I still think they should take the top 25 teams in college football and let them play it out. Bam. One plays 25, blah, 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 all the way down the fucking stretch. That's the way I think it should be. There's plenty of time.
So you think
between-
Oregon should be playing
Hold on.
Memphis
there's,
right now?
There's plenty of time between the end of the college football season till New Year's Day to do this. That each of these teams could play each other each week.
Okay. What we're dealing with right now is a 12-team playoff.
Correct.
So who do you think, if you had to change anything, who would it be? Obviously, we all agree Oregon is.
I wouldn't change anything. You want to know what the problem is, dude? Here's your problem with the whole kick it and the caboodle. You got teams that every year play fucking nobodies in their non-conference schedule. Do away with the non-conference schedule, make it all schedule conference games, and do away with that bullshit and make them play each other. You will get a true national champion every year then.
That's going to happen too, by the way.
You're going to get a true right when they get rid of these conferences finally. That
No, they're not going to get rid of the conferences.
you're going to have
but
2 conferences and that'll be it. Soon.
You're asking what we would change?
Right. So
I would take teams out. Like I'm not putting other teams back in. Like I think we have 4 teams that are not quality. In my
You think
opinion.
Arizona State is quality?
I think Arizona State would get crushed by 3 out of the 4 Big Ten teams. I think they would still probably lose to Indiana. And I think the only 2 teams they might be able to beat in the field are SMU and Boise State.
That's what I'm saying. So if you had a
So
perfect
Ohio
world,
State loses against Michigan. How many spots they drop?
they were 2, they
3 or
dropped to
4.
6.
But
4.
but I don't think Ohio. I still think that was a fluke that they lost to Michigan. I still think Ohio State's a good team.
I don't think that was a fluke.
Regardless, who do you think's better than Ohio State? I know we're on the same page on Georgia.
Oregon, Georgia,
Oregon.
Texas. You agree those are the top 3?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
it's a good top.
Penn
3.
State, Notre Dame, Ohio State.
I think Notre Dame is better. I think Ohio State's better than Penn State. They beat Penn State. They manhandled Penn State.
Well, I mean, they beat them. It wasn't no blowout or nothing like that, but they beat them.
Any arguments
Yeah.
on Notre Dame?
No,
I mean, Notre Dame,
can't
you know
stand
what?
them, but no,
They're a good
arguments.
team, but they lost to a fucking dog shit team, too.
Your argument on the conferences, they should be punished
Yeah.
for. They always should have been punished for not playing in a conference. In my opinion, they always should be punished for that. Now,
Yeah,
do they
Notre
schedule
Dame
well?
should be.
Do they schedule well? Of course they do. But even still, like it's not as let's run through Notre Dame's schedule. USC is not a draw. Like it hasn't been sexy in years.
Yeah, but USC's a good football team. They're not bad.
That's one of the best teams on their schedule this year, though.
Okay.
You know?
Would you say they're a top 25 team?
No.
USC?
No.
No?
Nope.
Top 30?
Real quick, running through Notre Dame's schedule, Texas A&M. They beat Texas A&M at A&M. That's a good win. They lost to Northern Illinois at home the second week. They blew out Purdue. Purdue is one of the worst teams in college football. They blew out Miami, Ohio. They blew out Louisville. They only beat Louisville by a touchdown. They blew out Stanford. They beat Georgia Tech. This is my thing. They didn't play anybody this year. And the one team they did play, credit to them on A&M. Down the stretch, they beat. Army was ranked somehow. They beat Army. That ain't great. Beating USC ain't great.
Army won 11 games.
Army's
The best
only
team-
loss is Notre Dame.
The best team on their schedule is Indiana, who they're going to play in the playoff. The only
Okay.
slight case I'll give them is A&M. So they're getting rewarded for playing a weak schedule. Yeah, you won the games, right?
Well,
You've
so
only
is
lost one
SMU
game.
in that case.
Is getting rewarded for playing.
They
a weak
play in
Because
a
there's
weak
nobody-
conference, not
There's
a.
nobody who thinks
weak
that
conference, weak
SMU is
schedule.
a better football team than Alabama.
I don't
Doesn't
think so.
matter. Alabama lost 3 fucking games. Good night.
Yeah, but the Alabama got
Win your
rightfully
fucking
punished.
games, man.
Again, we
Good
shouldn't
night.
be having the conversation because there shouldn't be 4 extra teams. We're letting in 4
Do
teams.
you think it should be the top 8 and that's it?
Yeah, we let in 4 teams that are not national championship caliber. That's what happened. It should be. This is the one thing I did like about the playoff. This weekend, the stakes were extremely high. This past weekend, the stakes
Right.
were extremely high in 3 of those conference championship games. They had big game feel to them. Texas, Georgia had big game feel to it. Penn State, Oregon had big game feel to it. What was the other one? The ACC game, which on paper was not a great game, had a big game feel to it. And I think it's cool that Clemson's getting rewarded for beating SMU. I think it's nice that they got rewarded for it. Arizona State and Iowa State did not have big game feel because it was a weak conference with 2 low-quality teams. Now, does the conference champion deserve to get in? Yeah. Big 12 champion should get in, but should not be hosting a game. Boise State should not be hosting a game. Boise State's going to get pumped by one of these bigger conference teams, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, you have Penn State having to go to Boise State.
But yeah, come on.
Never know on the blue turf what can happen.
You never know when James Franklin's got a coach for his life.
You never know on the blue turf
Did
what
Boise
can happen.
State lose a game this year? Are they undefeated?
No, I believe they lost 1. Hold on.
How are they a 3 seed? They are not the 3rd best team in college football. They're not the 3rd
Yeah,
best
but
conference.
here's the
champion.
problem. All these other teams were losing. That's the problem.
That's why I think there needs to be 8-team playoff. You let in the 4 Big 12, ACC, SEC, Big 10.
Yeah,
You
what
let the
they're
conference
what they're
champions
trying
in.
to do is
They lost
get
to
another
Oregon.
Weekend.
Lost
They
to
lost
Oregon.
to Oregon.
They're trying to get another weekend.
By a field goal.
Exactly what they're
Their
doing.
only loss
By
was
a
to
field.
Oregon by a field goal.
Wow. That's impressive now when you think about it.
I think Oregon's fraud.
But-
I think Ohio State's the best team in the
But
Big 10.
but
Really?
and this is actually here's Boise State's schedule. Week 1, they played at Georgia Southern.
Okay.
Week 4,
Hold on.
they had a bye.
Doesn't Alabama play them every year?
Yes.
So does Georgia.
Portland State, Washington State,
Who the hell is Portland State?
Utah State,
Portland State's not even
at Hawaii. They beat ranked UNLV. UNLV was 24. San Diego State, Nevada, San Jose State, at Wyoming, at home against Oregon State,
It's Mountain West, right?
and then they played
Yeah.
UNLV again.
Some
Hey,
Mountain West.
listen, I will say this, dude. I think the Mountain West is a little underrated. I love the Mountain West. They throw the ball all over the field.
Except Boise State.
They're pretty cool.
Boise State is currently 139th in total passing offense.
Right.
Yeah.
But where are they in rushing?
I believe they're one.
Listen, I just think that those two top SEC teams,
they're eighth.
Georgia, Texas, and those two top Big Ten teams, which are, to me, Ohio State and Oregon, I think it's them versus the field. And then you add in the two conference champions, right? You add in Clemson, and then you add in Arizona State. Very, very.
So once
reluctantly.
these conferences all become the super conference, which is coming soon, then what?
Oh, Army is first in rushing offense. Excuse me, 308
That's
yards.
because they run the fucking
They don't
wishbone.
pass.
Yeah.
What do you mean by then what? Like what is what should the
When
playoff
you get
be,
the
or-
two, you get your two little super conferences in. It'll be the SEC and the Big Ten.
Mhm.
It'll wind up being that. So then you have a problem with the 12-team playoff. Then
Yeah,
how?
because there isn't.
Because now it's not the conference games ain't going to matter.
There
anymore.
aren't 12 national championship caliber teams.
out of 128 fucking
Yeah.
schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in a good year, like in a good college football year, I think
Yeah.
there's 8. This was a bad college football year, so
Okay.
I think you have 8
Well,
teams
you
in
know
this
what? I
playoff.
don't think it was a bad year. You want to know what I thought it was? Pretty competitive, man. You had some teams just fucking shit the bed with the new NIL bullshit. People bouncing all over the place with the portal.
Last year, though,
Got a good look of it.
last year going into conference championship weekend, you had undefeated Michigan, undefeated Florida State, undefeated Washington, one loss, undefeated Georgia. They lost in the championship game, and one loss Alabama. That was a good college championship. Like that's a year where 8 teams is worthy. This year, I just
Okay.
think there's such a drop off. Like you have Oregon.
Well, because you
And
had
everyone
teams
else.
losing instead of winning.
Well,
I mean, it is what
teams are losing because they're just not as good. If there's going to
I
be
wouldn't say they're not as good.
there's going to be a
I
year
would say they're playing more competitive teams now.
there's no
than you have. In
I
the
think
past.
there's going to be a year where there's going to be 8 good teams. This isn't one of those years. Therefore, if there isn't 8 good teams, there certainly isn't 12 good teams. It's
Yeah.
I see 6 or 7 teams that could win it. Like let's run it. Let's run it real quick. Real quick. So number 1 was who? Oregon. We think Oregon can win the national championship, right?
Well, they have to play the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee.
Not the point. On paper, do you think Oregon can win the national championship? Number 2 is Georgia. Do we think Georgia can win a national championship?
Yep.
Yeah.
Be honest on number 3. Do you think Boise State
No.
can win a national championship?
No. They're not gonna beat
Not
Georgia.
because they're in it and they're the 3 seed. Like, do you generally think that they have one player that's going to get drafted probably, maybe 2, in Genty and then whoever else.
Who are they playing?
They play the winner of Penn State SC.
No, who are they playing first week?
They have
they
bye.
have a bye.
They have a bye.
They have a bye.
All right, good for them.
But do you
Rest up
see
and get
them?
ready.
Do you think
Do you
Boise
see
State
them?
can beat
Do you
Oregon
see
or
them
Georgia?
hoisting the trophy
You
at the end of the year?
You never know.
Well, okay.
Do you see them doing it?
No, that's what makes
Okay.
it fun.
So we're on Georgia and we're on Oregon. Number 4, Arizona State. Do
No
we think
chance.
no chance?
Okay.
So that's the first 4 teams. Then from there, Notre Dame, IU, Notre Dame, IU,
Huh?
very reluctantly. Like I don't think so actually. So I'm gonna take it back. I was gonna say Notre Dame maybe. I don't think Notre Dame can win a national championship. I don't think they're good enough to beat Georgia or Ohio.
Who do you think wins that game? Indiana or Notre Dame?
This is what's going to happen in that game. This is the battle. Hear me out. It's the battle for Chicago. And what's going to happen is the 3 biggest alumni bases in Chicago are Notre Dame number 1, Michigan number 2, IU number 3. a lot of rich IU alums, which there are a lot. There's a lot of IU money, not as much as Notre Dame money, but a lot of IU people have been waiting 40 years for their football team to be good. Uncle Sam and I were talking about this the other day. Do you know what the get-in price for that game is?
I have no idea.
It's about $1,400 because IU fans are going to raid that stadium. So I think if IU plays their game and keeps it close, they're going to have a shot. Remember, this is the best team Notre Dame has played. You guys can say Navy, I will give it to you. To me, this is the best team Notre Dame has played since A&M. Now, I think Texas A&M is better than Indiana, but I think this game is a coin flip, and I don't think either of these teams can win a national championship.
Pick it right now, Notre Dame, Indiana.
Who?
You.
Me?
Pick it.
Indiana.
You.
I'm going to say Notre Dame.
Bruce?
Going back to my argument, do we think Notre Dame can win a national championship?
No.
Do we think IU can win a national
No.
championship? We're still at
Possible.
two teams.
Hey, one of these two teams are going to fucking go forward, dude.
Yes, but
So
The next game, Penn State SMU. I think Penn State would never pick them. Their coach is disgusting and chokes in every big game. I think Penn State has a national championship caliber roster. Do you think Penn State can win a national
No.
championship? Do you think Penn State can win a national championship?
I think they could.
Okay, so you're still at two teams. You're just proving my point further. Ohio State and Tennessee. I think Ohio State could easily win a national championship, and I think they're going to make the title game, in my opinion. Tennessee. Does anyone think Tennessee can do it?
No.
I don't think this Tennessee team is national championship caliber. And then Texas, Clemson. I do think Texas is a national champion.
Texas is. Those
So-
are my three.
So I have 5 teams that could win it.
I have three. Georgia, Oregon, and Texas.
That's my point. Is like
I think Ohio State needs to be in there too.
they're in it for you and I. They're not
Ohio
for him.
State, yeah.
So for you, it's Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas. Those
Oh,
are your
yeah.
top.
Not Penn State though. You don't think Penn State could
I
win
think
it?
Penn State is right behind those guys.
Okay, so I
Yeah, I
had
think
more
they could win it
teams.
too.
You guys just proved my point. I had more teams than either of you. I had 5 teams that I think could legitimately win it. So you have 5. I don't see
I
it
like
with these
the
other
other teams
teams.
being in there, dude. Them other teams being in there makes it exciting.
Yes,
It makes
because
it
more-
exciting.
What are you
More-
gonna do? Hold on now. What are we gonna do if we're gonna sit here and say, well, who's going to Boise?
The
They
winner
play the
of
winner.
Penn State, SMU.
Okay, the winner of that game, let's say Penn State. Let's say Penn State loses to SMU.
Yes,
That
but-
throws a fucking monkey wrench in everything. I love it.
Well, that
Love
gives
it.
Boise. That gives Boise. Realistically, if Penn State goes into Boise, Penn State's going to beat Boise State.
Possibly.
More likely
Possible.
than not.
Listen, as long as you run the football and eat the clock, anything's possible.
Because right
And
now,
play and get some stops on defense. Anything is possible.
right now, if
Michigan just fucking proved that.
yes, I
They
get
go
it.
into Columbus, they're dog shit, and they beat the fucking second-rate team in the country. What are we talking about here?
Right
dude?
now,
Did anybody give them a chance to win this game?
No, they're 23
Nobody
point
did.
dogs.
Nobody did.
If-
They were a 19-point dog, and they go in and they beat it. That's proof. Now, you think they were a national championship caliber team? Fuck no. But they beat the second-ranked team in the country that everybody thinks that can win it all.
But no matter what, in college football history, I mean, very rarely. In fact, I can't think of an example.
Very rarely before, because you know why? There was only 2 fucking teams.
I know.
That's why.
But they, for the most part, they get it right. For the most
Well,
part, they've gotten
even
it
when
right.
when they had the 14 playoff, when they had the 14 playoffs, don't you remember when they first did that? And you had Alabama, Georgia, Michigan State, and I can't remember who else was in that.
Clemson.
Ohio
Clemson,
State.
It was Clemson.
Ohio State
Florida
was in
State
that
was
too.
around then, Auburn.
Don't you remember those games? Don't you remember fucking Alabama ass punching fucking Michigan State?
Yeah, but that was expected.
Derrick Henry, wasn't that Derrick Henry's
Okay,
big game?
so
I mean,
so that's my point. That year, there were not 8 good teams. There were 2 or 3.
well,
That's the thing. Michigan State got
but
in. They're the conference champion.
but who's
good for them. But
yeah, but they were complaining back then that who didn't get in? Who didn't get into that one year?
there will always be. It
Yeah,
doesn't
I
matter.
mean,
There's always
You're
going to
still
be complaints.
But I would rather have more teams than less teams.
Yeah, it's
Less
more than
teams-
4.
Less teams, you see Alabama, Georgia every fucking year. Does everybody want that?
I agree.
don't.
I agree
I
on
don't
more
want
than
that.
4. For sure, there should be more than 4. I think 12 is a lot because
I
we went through it this year, And out of the 12, I think 5 actually have a shot.
It's
at this.
giving a team like Boise and a team like SMU
A shot to get lucky.
a shot.
You can still-
a shot to get lucky. You don't
You can
have
still give
that,
them that
cha-
chance. You
They
can-
would never have that chance.
No,
if
I
it
know.
wasn't for
I know,
that.
but you could still give them that chance at 8. At 12, you're just adding more bad teams. There's going to be more bad
Yeah,
games.
but you
Like,
know what?
okay.
They need to eat. Guess what? They make a lot more money this way.
Let's
bud.
do it this way.
it's all about money.
Which teams, if you had to cut 4 teams, which teams do you cut?
Easy. Very easy.
SMU, Clemson.
Boise, Arizona State.
I would say Arizona State. Boise, if you look at the schedule, I think it's impressive enough to be there.
All right, Tennessee, you can
Tennessee,
cut.
those would be my 4 that I would cut.
Tennessee, you can cut.
Well,
realistically-
it's not going to happen, dude. If anything, going forward,
They're going to add more.
you're going to see more.
Clemson, you can cut because, or sorry, excuse me, Clemson, you can't cut because I do think there should always be a premium placed on winning your conference.
You've already said it yourself. What's the ticket prices going to that Indiana game?
$1,400.
I wouldn't cut Indiana. I think Indiana.
I'm making a statement here. It's about money. Anything within the next 5 years, they're going to add more teams.
But-
There'll be 16 teams pretty soon.
out of
It's so there's a 2-year trial on this, so they're going to
Yeah.
make a decision next summer based on how next year's
Oh,
goes.
they're going to love every minute of this, dude.
They might.
You're going to have some Cinderella team come out of
If
this.
you get
telling
if you get so how many games? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 11 games.
Correct.
If you get 7 or 8 very good games, like and especially
They're
like
going to keep going.
if 3 out of 4 of these first round games are good, they're probably going to add teams. But all you're doing is just adding worse teams.
out
You're
of
weighing
these,
it down.
out
I
of
know.
these week
You're
1
right.
games,
it's about money. It ain't about
You're right.
talent.
out of
About
these
money.
first week games, I think that Texas and Clemson's going to be a shit show. I think Texas
Texas should roll them.
Penn State and SMU is going to be a shit show.
I think Penn State should roll them. IU Notre Dame should be fun.
That should be a great
Ohio
game.
State Tennessee should be fun.
And I agree that Ohio
Listen,
State Tennessee will be a
If you want to know how to eliminate this, if these games, if they go in the way you're saying they're going to go, and let's say Penn State blows them out by 40, then they might consider fucking cutting it back to where it was.
It's just simple to me. You have 4
So you
major
think that year
conferences.
that Cincinnati made it to the
They clearly didn't deserve to
final?
be there. That year there weren't.
Okay.
That year there weren't only 3 good teams. There were not that. And Georgia fucking shit pumped Michigan that year. So technically speaking, I don't consider Michigan to have been in the conversation as Georgia and Alabama that year.
interesting?
So that's like some years there are 8 good teams. Some years there are not. This is not a year. There's 5 good teams this year.
So what went wrong with that Michigan loss? What do you think was wrong there?
To Georgia,
Yeah.
I mean that Georgia team was one of the best teams in the history of college football.
Okay.
If you look at everyone that got everyone who was there,
Would you have said they were ready to play that game?
Georgia.
No, Michigan. Because to me, they looked unprepared.
That's not the point. though.
Unprepared.
I don't think they were as talented.
Unprepared,
as Georgia,
just like
though.
they were against TCU.
That's fine. I don't think they were
No.
as talent. Like the gist
No.
is they're not like they didn't deserve to. Not that they didn't deserve to be there because they won their conference.
Correct.
Their one loss. I'm just telling you, you're just furthering my argument on expanding the playoff. Some years 8 teams is perfect. Some years it's way too much. We're at 12 this year with only 5 teams that legitimately have a shot to win it.
Okay.
That's my take.
We'll see. See if them 5 teams make it. Because
Yeah.
you never know. You never know what'll happen.
So it's you and I have the same teams: Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon.
Oregon,
What was the last one? Penn State.
Penn State.
Penn State. Those
Re-
5 teams.
realistically, it's going to be an Oregon Georgia 1 versus 2 championship game.
Oregon. I think Ohio State's very much in the conversation. Analytically, like you just looked at that mock draft. How many Ohio State guys? did you see
Here's
in
the
first?
problem with Ohio State. It depends on which Ryan Day shows up. What? What?
Nothing. Keep going. Don't mind me. Keep talking. Keep talking.
Where the fuck is he going?
Anyway,
Anyway, like I said, what was I saying? I forgot where I was at. He confused me. Look at your phone. Look at my phone? Okay. Oh, I'm not in that. I don't give a fuck about that. Anyway.
no, it's the YouTube chat. He is to pee.
Anyway,
We could talk about that. We're human.
you know why he's got to pee because
I don't know
his,
why he had to make a facade about it.
well, because his vagina couldn't hold it anymore. So, okay.
Who do you think's
I'm
going to
good.
win?
Who do I think's going to win the whole thing?
Mhm.
I think Georgia personally. Listen, the SEC teams are clearly better than the Big Ten teams, in my opinion. I know that sounds ridiculous, but thank God Alabama's not in it because they are in it. They could probably win the whole thing.
No, that Alabama team was missing something, which is why they
Yeah.
didn't get in my opinion. I thought they didn't have the juice to do it.
No, yeah, Milrow, that's the problem.
Georgia has the juice. Georgia
Yeah.
has the talent. And I also just
And they have the coaching.
I also think Oregon is very. I mean,
I
if you
think
go-
Oregon's very good
If
too.
you
I
go
like their coach.
undefeated, I think Oregon can beat Georgia. I think Ohio State could beat Georgia.
Yeah.
I would love to see Ohio State and Georgia play each other. I think those are the two most they have the most pros on their team.
Well, I mean,
They're
if
built
they're
for this.
hold on, if those are the two best teams in the country, they're going to be the ones meeting each other.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I don't care how many teams are involved in it. In fact, I think the more the better. Personally, I would love to see it go up to the top 25 teams all play a tournament to become national champions. Just like they do in college basketball. They take the top 64. I'm not going that far. Although I would think about it. And then forget about the conference championship game.
No,
Do away.
see,
See,
That's
do
why
away
I
with that
disagree.
bullshit.
That's why I
you
disagree.
don't need it.
No, because there were there were 3 really good games this
you
week.
don't need it.
No, but that's a de facto. That's a playing game.
And then
if a team loses, if that's what you're going to say, if the better team loses the conference championship, you still have at-large teams. You still
Correct.
you put in a small conference and
Here's
2
why
at-larges.
I'm saying do away with the conference championships. Number one, it's taking up an extra week, which you don't need, and you could start the playoffs at that part.
They're not going to do that.
And then you would take the top 25 teams in the nation and consistently let them play until you got a true champion then, a true champion of college football. Now, can one of those top teams get their asses handed to them? Absolutely. That's what is more exciting than the tournament in college
I'll tell you what's
for
more exciting.
basketball? I don't know.
The Cheez
What, you?
the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl on New Year's Eve at 3:00, where South Carolina hosts Illinois and Orlando, Florida.
I would love to see that game.
What about the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl in El
There you go.
Paso, Texas?
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
I'm all in.
Hold
I'm
on.
all
What
in.
about the Radiance Technologies Independence
Well,
Bowl,
how many bowls is there?
where Marshall takes
Hold
on Army?
How many bowls is there?
You want me to count all this right now?
I want you to count how many bowl games there are.
What about the Snoop Dogg Arizona
I'm
Bowl
all in.
presented by
Snoop
Gin and
Doogity
Juice
Doo.
by
the Snoop
Dre and
Doogity Doo
Snoop?
Bowl.
That's actually
That's where
the
Bruce
name
is
of it.
going.
There's 36.
Bruce is going to smoke dope with Snoop Doogity Doo.
It's the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl presented by Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop.
There you
That's
go.
the full title. What about
That's
the
before or
Pop-Tart
after
Bowl?
they go to
Hold on.
prison.
We don't tolerate Pop-Tart Bowl slander. That stole the show last year. They have a live an edible Pop-Tart as their mascot.
The Pop-Tart Bowl, Iowa State versus Miami in
I'm watching.
Orlando.
Iowa State was Iowa State was in their conference championship game,
Correct.
and Miami was literally going to win the conference until the last or their division until
Right.
the last day of the year.
Now,
They were-
now tell me if you had more teams that wouldn't be a very competitive.
I'm going to turn your argument against you, which is
Go
that
ahead.
the best teams will be playing each other in the end. The
Okay.
reason Miami didn't make the playoff is because they weren't one of the
They
best
lost
teams.
a tight game.
Because they lost.
They lost a tight game.
Yeah, but they weren't. If they were good, they would have won. They've lost 2 games, and all of their games were tight. So if they were good, they would have won the games they needed to win. They
Well,
didn't
here it
win.
is. They're trying to just get rid of all conferences anyway.
Dude,
Why don't we just take the top 25 and let them play each other?
do you think the winner of the famous Idaho Potato Bowl between Northern Illinois and Fresno State should make it?
Well, Northern Illinois beat, who was it?
Notre Dame.
There you go.
In South Bend.
Yes, I believe so.
What about the Duke's Mayo Bowl?
I don't know.
Who's in the Duke's Mayo?
Minnesota versus Virginia Tech.
Wow, bloodbath.
And, there's always the Bahamas Bowl. Buffalo versus Liberty.
Those kids love to fight for the right to go to the Bahamas.
Bahamas Bowl. The Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl is a good one. I'm trying to, hold on. The Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl in the Bronx. Boston College versus Nebraska.
Speaking of Pinstripe Bowl, They announced Michigan's schedule this year as well, or for next year as well, and Michigan plays Northwestern at Wrigley Field next year, which should be pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
And to wrap it all off, Saturday, December 28th at 11 a.m., the Wasabi Fenway Bowl between UConn and North Carolina.
Oh my God. Bill Belichick's North Carolina Tar Heels
Playing in the Wasabi Bowl in Boston.
going into Fenway to take
In
on
Boston,
UConn.
funny enough. Wow.
It's a sellout.
A standing ovation.
Can't touch a ticket there. Watch.
The Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl,
Who is it? Navy and who?
Oklahoma. And the Game Above Sports Bowl here in Detroit, Pittsburgh versus Toledo.
Ooh.
Don't forget about the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl or the RL Carriers New Orleans Bowl, Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. Wow. What a lineup.
I'm all set. That's my point. Is we're adding too many bowl games in an era where there should be less bowl games.
Hey, I bet you it's going to be popping at the Boca Raton Bowl where Western Kentucky takes on James Madison. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. Make sure to follow socials, Instagram and Twitter at Tip Balls, TikTok at Tip Balls Podcast. We are giving away tickets on Friday to the Buffalo Bills game. You have to be following us on TikTok to enter. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back Friday. It's going to be electric.
Chinese propaganda.